Try this mic out, yeah? Turn it up.
Michael Hutchence was the next king of rock and roll.
I don't care what's been said. With every step I take, I feel like a different person with every bet I make. Is this the face of freedom? A got in my hands. Gotta get some honey, dripping through my plans. Sammy got, she knows I need her. Send the devil away. Sammy got, she knows I need her. Zip click, tear away. Ha!
When Michael Hutchence died, he left behind more questions than answers. But he also left clues.
So strong. Now my life's changed. I don't know things about the people that I tell. Heard a story.
Michael left hidden treasures.
Michael was a bit of a pack rat, almost like he had shit stored all over the world.
In vaults in Zurich. In bunkers in London. In Bali. In LA.
So it was almost like this detective thing.
It's been a voyage of discovery trying to find all this.
It has.
Like Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
In places you'd least expect.
There's a vault in London with tapes in the place that Churchill ran the war.
Loving glimpses.
Tiger! Sure, tiger. Here's mommy. Goofy.
And revelations.
He was actively having fertility treatment in the UK with Paula.
Locked away for 20 years.
These, we believe, are the last lyrics that he was writing.
Yep, on yellow paper.
They was left in his hotel room. He was writing right up until that evening.
His last message.
Sick of the dogs and down the window.
Seems quite clear. Seems, completely aware.
You could say it's almost a suicide note. Who else has seen this?
His diary.
And I've held on to it for Tiger for many years.
His innermost thoughts.
As long as I feel like I got my ear on the street, I'm not just, living in a vacuum or something. Once I feel like that's happening, then I'm out of here.
And the missing songs. Michael's brilliant final gift.
A batch of songs fell between the cracks.
The only place for him to be completely free was in the music.
Oof, I got goosebumps.
I certainly would like to be remembered in a good light.
This might bring him peace, you know what I mean, and everybody else.
Every component to this story now is the way it was meant to be.
The Michael Hutchence you saw was the Michael Hutchence you got.
Intoxicated. During the truth said.
It's Michael.
All the possibilities. All the possibilities.
When we started as a band, we were still in school, very young, and probably spending too much time in music and not enough time on our studies. As far as influences are concerned for songwriting, lyrics, and things like that, Sydney's the kind of place where I sort of end up writing love songs, as you can see. And Melbourne, down below us, is more artistic, dark and sleazy, so a different feel altogether.
I need you now. I want you back. I can't go on.
Come on, everybody.
Home on the range.
Says he not your damn boy.
Oh, look, wouldn't you like my teeth?
Brett.
That's the family shot, Brett. Fine, little jacket, Brett. You're fine.
Michael Kelland Hutchence was never going to be an ordinary man.
I'm just a man.
From the moment he was born, his half-sister Tina knew there was something special about her baby brother.
With Michael, he had such a joy. I remember he'd wake up in the morning, even when he was a year old, and he'd pull himself up and he'd rattle like he was rattling a cage or something. He'd be in his crib, but there was joy. He'd be laughing.
Michael and his younger brother Rhett spent some of their early years in Hong Kong, where their dad Kel was working.
He was a very shy, lovely kid.
Welcome to Fantastic Jack.
There's that junk.
And he was just very warm, very tender, cuddly type. He was a very gentle boy. And when we moved to Hong Kong, I suppose that started to bring him out of his shell a little bit. I noticed he loved writing poetry.
He was a really happy child. And he was a happy adult. I had a feeling that he was going to be something. I mean, the first time I actually saw him perform live, we went into this dingy place. It was a big, big room and lots of beer flowing. I went back to see the boys, and there was a pot smell about it. I just thought it was funny. And then I was kind of worried because I thought, this looks like kind of a tough crowd out there. And Michael's kind of quiet. What is going to happen? I was really concerned. They came on, and there was this metamorphosis. My quiet, spoken brother became this person on the stage that it just blew me away. I mean, he was all over the stage. He was owning it.
He never wore contact lenses on stage because the thing he would pick out in the audience was the two people go yawning about it, and that was the thing. So he didn't want to see what the audience were reacting to. He could only see the first 3 rows.
Michael was blind as a bat, so, you know, he couldn't really see the crowd.
Michael didn't sing like anybody else. He didn't sound like anybody else. So it wasn't like you would listen to him sing and say, oh, he was influenced by so-and-so. Michael's voice was Michael's voice.
Don't ask me what you know is true. Don't have to tell you I love your precious heart. I was standing, you were there, 2 worlds collided, and they could never tear us apart.
He was like this true artist who happened to become incredibly commercial, but I think had a soul that was like a child.
Peter Wilson, who would later star in the TV series La Femme Nikita, was an up-and-coming actress when she met Michael on an early INXS video shoot.
I was a pretty girl, and he certainly liked pretty girls, but he had this tremendous capacity to make people feel completely at ease.
They became lifelong friends.
He had this fantastic old Jag. He'd say, I'll meet you at 11, probably maybe 12, he'd get there. And you'd just go, you didn't know where you were going. Some lunch with someone amazing, and then you'd go to some other. It was just this adventure. It was like being with Peter Pan.
Buying a Harley stopped you from becoming an asshole in a Porsche.
Yeah, now I'm an asshole in a Jag.
When Mick Jagger came to Australia in the early 80s, it was Peter who introduced him to Michael. She'd modelled with Mick's girlfriend, Jerry Hall, and knew him well.
I said to Mick, I said, oh, have you been to see INXS? He says, no. I said, would you like to come and see them? Would you like to come and see us? It's a real treat. And he came. Michael came on the stage and did his thing, and I remember Mick pulling out a notebook. I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm taking notes. I said, darling, he's doing you. He's doing you. He says, well, he's doing me a lot better than I do.
Michael is literally the front man, not for just a band, but for, like, I think a nation.
Jump back, kiss myself.
Byron-esque and, you know, George Jetson at the same time. He was just kind of like he was something from tomorrow.
Billy Zane, one of the stars of Titanic, first met Michael in 1989. The actor was in Australia filming Dead Calm when they met. They formed an instant bond.
He was a futurist. He was a sensualist. He was the modern man, completely comfortable with his masculinity, that he was, you know, his androgyny was allowed to flourish.
He was probably one of the most sensual human beings I've ever encountered. Everything was smell and taste and touch and sight, you know, and what he would hear. And I mean, he would take in life.
Actress Leslie Ray Bager, who for several years was married to INXS drummer John Farris, was great friends with Michael.
Our friendship was so obvious. We just, you know, we cared about each other. We loved each other.
While touring with the band, she'd photograph him.
Look at that. Great shot, right?
Capturing intimate moments.
I love this photograph.
And his charm.
Energy was coming off of him, and, you know, he had such beautiful movement, didn't he?
And his cheekiness.
And then here's what comes next. Dumping water on everybody. He did have a cheeky sense of humor. And he would do these crazy, wild accents, and he was funny. I mean, you know that if you were hanging out with Michael, you get prepared to laugh a lot.
That was about, boy. Well, get them big old speedboats, put that big old engine on the back, put the sail to heaven, put them on the bit of the cordads, cook them up real fine down the Creole style.
Let's take a big cock of freedom.
This is one of the lost songs Michael left behind. It has never been released. In 1997, Michael was collaborating with legendary LA music producer Danny Saber.
Danny meant everything to him. Danny was helping him express everything he wanted to express.
20 years on, Danny has brought this song back to life.
It's a universal problem, so take a stand. I'm gonna climb a mountain that's bigger than me. We'll fly down together, make you see what I mean. There's only one way to do it.
Tonight is its world premiere.
Cool? Definitely good.
Finding Michael's music and the clues and treasures he left behind has been a 2-year odyssey across 4 continents and 5 countries.
Good evening.
Tucked away in a nondescript warehouse near Wembley in London, a battered but much loved piano.
It's just a little old piano. And Mike and Paul and Mike's friends and different musicians would sign the piano and tinker on the piano. And all the kids had been taught to play piano on the piano. It's something that we can say is from a mum directly to Tiger.
How about that?
In Zurich, under armed guard, the art Michael collected. And his guitars.
I know that he loved musical instruments. Not necessarily because he was great at playing them, but because he would get his friends to play them. I remember playing one of his guitars. He had a really great, a Gretsch semi-acoustic guitar. And we were just messing around with, he had a microphone and I was playing through an amp, and we just about managed to get Voodoo Child happening live in the living room. And he was singing and I was playing, and we really felt quite good about that. It wasn't the instruments, it wasn't the thing itself, it's what people could do with those things that made them important to him.
Away, ooh, mama. Okay.
Rock did become a youth culture, and it became a kind of physical culture as well, very much a physical culture. And it's not just music, and never will be. You know, that's a fact. No one just buys a rock and roll record because of the song.
He was a citizen of the world.
Luggage warriors. We're known as the luggage warriors.
Michael and I met in Hong Kong in 1986. I was working with another Australian barrister who had previously acted for INXS in Sydney.
Yeah, have a night out?
We had many nights out, many nights out.
That meeting was the start of an unbreakable friendship. But the rock star and the lawyer were more than mates. Such was their bond, Michael wanted Colin Diamond to be the guardian of his daughter, Tiger Lily, if he and her mother, Paula, were ever to die.
It's like reliving the whole memory again, Mark. It's shocking. Hits to the heart.
Colin was one of the executors of Michael's estate. He's never spoken publicly.
Michael was an intriguing chap. He was extremely well read and a real enigma for a rock star.
Did he have an ego?
Had a huge ego. Michael had a huge ego. Mike treated the band as his brothers.
See the sound, it crashes in all around. It gets
INXS was his family. Gary and Kim and John and Andrew and Kurt were Mike's brothers.
Make us love each other. Have to realize our own future. Guns in the sky.
And of course, most of his exceptional work occurred when he combined with Andrew Farris. Andrew being the melody writer, and Michael being the lyricist, and he was amazed at Andrew's abilities.
Sometimes I carry around a little dictaphone so I can sing melodies and things like that, especially when Andrew and I are writing.
All bells and okay.
I'll suddenly go, eureka.
When I met Michael and I realised how clever he was,
and, you know, and very good at articulating thoughts, ideas, you know, and clever with a lyric in a short space of time. I thought, why don't you do it? And also you're singing it, so you'll, you know, you'll feel empowered to deliver it on a stage because you'll know what to sing because you'll feel it. You own the song.
Oh, there's a mystic. Streets are blue. I'm in love. That children learn. Some silken moment goes on forever. And we're leaving broken hearts behind. What happens here? Chorus. In the chorus. Mystify. New one, yeah. You mystify me. What happens? Repeat it. Mystify. Mystify me.
Great part from the ending.
Would he have been as big without INXS? And could INXS have made it without Michael?
Well, you'd have to look at, I think that they, I mean, okay, if there was no INXS, Michael needed a vehicle. So that was the car he got in with the people in the car, and that fucking car really knew how to go.
Wembley Stadium was a good one. Thank God.
He was a really great frontman. He knew how to hold a crowd, how to take them somewhere else, and then suddenly how to punch them and make them and shock them.
Hello, London! Is that what you say? Is it hello, England? Looks like England's out there. Fucking hell.
The night I saw him, he had on black and white stretch pants. He was kicking ass and the girls were screaming and I was like, look at this cat go. Oh, he was a bad dude. Real live rock star.
He was sort of the end of that generation of you actually had to be able to play fucking music and actually sing in tune. You had to have your natural dance moves. He didn't rehearse any of that stuff. That just came out of him. And then when the shows would finish, he'd want to keep it going. You know, he wanted to just keep it going and have a great time with everybody.
He partied. An expert, you might say. Michael spent $1.10 in every dollar he made.
Yo, Tina! On the table, babe!
He was always the man that jumped up and threw his credit card across the table and paid for the night out.
Were you ever taken back by the credit card bills?
Oh, some of them were shocking, to say the least, you know. Well, I saw a bill came through for $48,000 for a couple of days in New Orleans, and he did tell me what it was for, and he had a good time. He enjoyed himself. Yeah.
Can you tell me?
No, I couldn't break the confidence that Michael given in me, but he definitely enjoyed himself.
Welcome to the strangest party, baby.
Oh, not another kiddo, Coach. Jesus, fans, they fucking can't help themselves, can they?
Michael's one of those few people that to get high with was it wasn't depressing. It got like to the point of like almost being disturbing sometimes.
Nick Egan designed many of the album covers for INXS. He and Michael were close friends. They worked hard and played harder.
I've got some answer machine messages that he left, and one of them would be like, he would come to town and he'd say, "Hey, Nick, let's go shopping," in a very sort of mock gay voice, you know, like we were two gay guys going out shopping together.
Hello. Give us a call. Let's go shopping.
He was in touch with his feminine side, let's just put it that way. He said, "Do you like this on me?" And I said, "Yeah, it looks great." You know, it's like having a girlfriend.
Hi, Nick. It's Michael. How you doing? Just give me a call. It's fine for you to stay at my place if you want to. That'd be great, mate.
And then we'd go out, we'd go to parties, and we would get pretty fucked up, you know. I mean, I will say this about, and I'm not one to be saying, hey, drugs are great, but I had the best time on Michael. It was never this, let's sit at home and get high and get paranoid. It's just go out and do stuff. And we went out and we did stuff and had a great time with him. And it was all kind of, you know, he did, whether it's ecstasy, or we did coke together, we did, you know, what else did we do? I didn't really smoke weed, and I certainly didn't do heroin with him. But we went out to clubs, we went dancing. Let's kiss, kiss, let's kiss.
Let's go. So who's going to do the Michael Hutchence impersonation?
You can do that.
Yeah, come on, look for the good bit. When you talk that certain way. Love the look in your eyes. When you know what love is like.
Michael's substance abuse was always done in the most sort of up kind of let's have fun, like it should be, really. And it was really just there to sort of keep us going.
First you get the vodka, and then you get a glass, put that in there, you put the tonic in. Put half a glass of vodka, half a glass of vodka. One of these before the show every night. That's what we need.
It was part of Michael's character. Dangerous, cheeky, mischievous.
Elegantly wasted. Boy, did he coin it and justify it. He made, certainly made that. Okay, as long as you did it in a, kind of sulka smoking jacket and a monocle, everything was okay.
It was a night of debauchery. It was in Paris. I won't say his name, but it was a famous fashion designer that met up with us in a hotel and came with quite a number of friends, and they had this big trunk.
What's in the trunk?
It was Pandora's box. It was every recreational pharmaceutical fathomable to man. I mean, everything. Flash forward to a couple hours later, and we get a call from the hotel saying, you're going to have to evacuate your room. The embassy's next door, and there's a terrorist on the roof dressed in black. And I looked around and I said, "Where's Michael?" And I went out the window, "Michael! You very naughty boy. Come down here at once."
Hey, another day, another dollar. What can I say? It was fun.
Elegantly wasted.
I'm the lead singer of Duran Duran. We had a massive female following in the 80s and into the 90s. But I remember going to an INXS concert in London. And after the show, they had like a sort of a backstage bash. And the women in there were incredible. And They were just interested in Michael. I mean, he had an incredible sexual charisma. And it was extraordinary how eclipsed you could feel when you were around him.
These are our friends from Japan.
How would he flirt?
He'd flirt like their girlfriend. He'd be like their confidant. That was so interesting. You know, he was the girl in the bunk bed at the sleepover who's, you know, beckoning you upstairs to tell you secrets.
I mean, I could talk to him like he was my girlfriend.
It was like, it was something so altogether fabulously, you know, inappropriate and right on mark. It was just like, you know, it was like, what the hell is this? You know, it was great.
Who's Polly Oates?
Rockstar in their underpants. She did a poof.
Oh, I know that.
With a bit of that girl in.
This is one of the last songs by Michael Hutchence. It's called Temptation.
You ride a Harley Davidson. Every bloke I know, in fact, quite a few ladies want to buy Harley Davidsons. What is the sort of buzz you get from a machine like that?
There's a vibration between your legs.
I watched him seducing women. He was the master of that.
Michael was a great lover, and he had a lot of girlfriends, and he did things that we could only fantasize about.
He loved being loved.
Temptation takes your head. Temptation, my best friend.
Lady killer. All he had to do was look at him. It was done deal.
Is it true that you've never been dumped by a girl? Is that true?
No. Ooh, I think I was when I was about 6, and that's the problem.
He was almost like a woman in a way. He was so balanced, masculine and feminine. I think that's why so many women loved him. He had a way about him that was very feminine and feline.
Sexy, androgynous serpentine, the way he moved.
How charming could he be?
Super charming. You know, everybody knows that Michael's very charming.
This is the first time that Rosanna Crash has spoken publicly about her love affair with Michael. They met in Japan when she was modelling. Later, they fell in love and moved in together. In 1987, when INXS crisscrossed the States on their legendary kick tour, Rosanna was by his side.
We had a lot of fun times, a lot of champagne, you know, a lot of fans going crazy.
Look at them go, look at them kick. Makes you wonder how the other half live.
Rosanna would often play saint to Michael's devil.
If we stayed up all night somewhere, like, I'm the one who would make sure that we got to the next place.
Such a ham, Mike.
Basically, I felt like I was there to protect him and help him.
Why did you feel you had to protect him?
Because I don't think that Michael could protect himself. I just think he needed, like, support more than he got from people.
In what way? They were using him?
Just taking advantage of him, I would say.
They were together for 3 years.
Nothing bad to say about him. He was a great boyfriend. He's bad at breaking up, but he was a good boyfriend. Yeah.
How was he bad at breaking up?
Well, you know, he'll love you to the bitter end and then gone and you don't even, that's it. You know what I mean? But not tell you that, you know? Like, oh, I'm gonna see you. And then get a call, like, you know, after the flights arrive to where you're living together and tell you we're not together anymore. And go like, wow, really? You know?
Nicola, you never answer the phone. Can't believe it. Anyway, it's me, Kylie. So we were thinking of having lunch, so call Michael and he'll organise it. But I really must speak to you today. So I'll speak to you later on. Bye.
After Michael left Rosanna Crash, he began dating Kylie Minogue, whose reputation until then had been squeaky clean. And she'd had enough of that.
Suddenly she doesn't want that clean-cut image anymore. She wants to get out and have a good time. And so what better way than to get in bed with Australia's most outrageous rock star? I mean, that, you know, if you're going to do something, you might as well do it properly. And that certainly was, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound. You chuck Jason Donovan out and you bring in Michael Hutchence. Talk about chalk and cheese.
This was a bit of a shock thing, you know, from Jason Donovan to Michael Hutchence.
I think people are going to be a bit shocked.
I was 21 years old, and we collided at that time.
He definitely corrupted her.
I found this new confidence, and I was just very eager to explore that. And also, I can look back on it and think that it was rebelling in a kind of childish way against everything that I had been made to do before. I mean, he was uber famous. He's an icon already, and he believed in me. And it was a time when so many people didn't. It's getting me very emotional.
I love him. I still love him. It's hard for me. I mean, I have things from him, and I see them sometimes, and I sometimes have to put them away. I don't, you know, it took me a long time to listen to his music again, you know. I still have dreams about him. It was like a big part of my life at that time, you know, and for him to be gone, I don't know, just, you know, it hurts.
He was just, for all of the people that got to meet him and got to know him, you were forever touched by him. You know, it wouldn't matter where you were, you get a phone call out of the blue. Oh, where are you? Oh, I just thought maybe you'd be around. Or he was always like that. He'd sort of come and go, but he was never gone.
When Michael looked at you and spoke with you, he somehow, some way, bypassed the guards and the windows to your soul. He just would get in.
The last time I was here was in '96. You make some friends in your life. Usually because they make you laugh. And we were very good at making each other laugh.
In the early 90s, Michael Hutchence was searching for new music. Music he could write and record independently of INXS. Michael turned to Andy Gill, guitarist and singer in the English band Gang of Four. They shared a mutual friend, Bono.
He rang me just out of the blue. He just phoned me up and said, did I want to play some guitar on his solo work? And I said, sure, I'd love to, you know. And then 10 minutes later, he rang back and said, actually, what I meant to say was, can you come and write an album with me? You know, I came to realise that was sort of classic. It's that sort of lack of confidence to say, will you do this? And then you go, yeah.
It was also a brilliant strategy. And, I mean, disarming is the word, because he could take the weapon out of your hand. I always think that God reserves the lisp for truly dangerous people. You know, he just had that, so nobody, you know, just when he talked, he had this kind of, it was so, you couldn't but fall for that vulnerability, that lisp, like him and Mike Tyson.
Hi, this is Michael Hutchence of INXS, reminding you to watch Simply Living on Channel 7.
I mean, I just find it very attractive, but it's always thinking, whoa, he's a dangerous man.
He was just quite chuffed that Bono thought he was the real deal, the real deal. He'd wrap that Irish twang in Bono's and say, he thinks I'm the real deal, Carl.
Even though Michael would tell you that he was very insecure as a singer, he was a truly great singer. And he must have known that somewhere in amongst his insecurity. I used to say to him, you know, for a performer, insecurity is your best security. And the really dull performers are the ones that are so self-confident they don't give a shit about what's going on in the crowd. But he was a really great singer, and I think this is a great singing record that you made with him.
Highly dangerous tweeter vocal.
For nearly 20 years, the tapes of the music that Michael recorded have lain undisturbed in a London vault. Now his music is being heard again. Stored in London, much of it made in France at Michael's villa.
You put your heart with trust into my hands. I held so tight, kept you protected from pain. Did you ever think about it?
Yeah, this was it. This was the one.
Tell me what happened here.
This is where we wrote all the music. So my setup was here. Computer, keyboard, and Michael would just sit on the bed singing. There's a great picture of me with all my gear and Michael going, you know, like that. You know, I just record everything he did. To begin with, it was always kind of not real words, that sort of sounded like things, just to get a feel, just to try and get the beginning of the idea of what it was going to be.
So, baby's come on, drive.
If it started going somewhere, then there'd be like a sort of getting lyrics going.
Back then, I remember calling him up, and he was working on some solo stuff. I said, "You all right, mate? You know, you okay?" Because this stuff looks pretty crazy to me, you know.
Nothing left to say. Nothing left to do.
Was he tricky to record?
It was easy. I mean, the only times sometimes I over-directed and, you know, it's like, oh, no, Michael, you got to hit it. No, you got to go softer on that. And he's, Andy, fuck off. Let me get on with it.
What happens here? It's the end of the song.
I love it.
I remember this Sunday afternoon, Bono ringing up, going, "Come on, guys, come down. We're having a party here. Johnny Depp's just set his shirt on fire, and come and help us out." And Michael and I looked at each other, and we went, "This sounds like a lot of fun." And you were saying to me, "We need reinforcements."
Down in our place, with Edge and myself's places, he'd climb over the gates. He'd just arrive. And, you know, midnight, and say, you know, anything going on?
You know, people talk about my favourite year. Well, that was definitely my favourite summer. I mean, it was really good fun. It was a little bit naughty. We did quite a few naughty things. We were absolutely plastered for half the time. He liked having fun, he liked girls, he liked drugs, he liked partying, pretty much all the things that I liked as well. And we didn't compete with each other. And that was the most important part of it, was that I didn't feel that I had to compete with Michael Hutchence, and I don't think he felt that he had to compete with Simon Le Bon. You know, it was we were just on a level with each other, and we became mates.
Michael's French villa was his retreat. Many a family Christmas was spent here.
Love you guys.
And one Christmas came with a new present.
And then Michael skipped from bloody Kylie, and next minute turning up with one of the biggest supermodels in the world.
Helena was, I think, a little nervous. She was only 21. You know, she was a kid.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, Helena was great. She was good because she didn't sort of, you know, she didn't take any shit from Michael, kind of thing.
They were the most beautiful couple in the south of France.
Well, what can we say? Michael and I are having a groovy time with the French people on a Friday night, and that's it, I guess. And don't wake us up too early, okay? Bye.
In summer, as Michael and Andy worked in the room above the pool, down below, Helena would work on her tan, wearing even less than this.
Helena would pop round, get her kit off and have a bit of a sunbathe. So obviously I would, you know, not look.
My favourite memories of him out of France, if you stayed up late enough, Michael would strip naked and be in the pool and then serve you breakfast.
He was very into his garden. The olive trees were his pride and joy, I think.
And he was getting the olives, having them pressed and bottled, and Helena was making labels for them. It's things that you don't think of them doing, right? That's why they like to do them.
And they did really ordinary things together, you know, like they'd go shopping to the market and they'd find great food, and then they'd take it back to the house and they'd cook together. I mean, he really loved cooking. He loved cooking.
Prawns on the barbie.
Nighttime brought new adventures.
One night, Michael arrived home with the boys. They'd all been out to all the nightclubs in Nice. And everybody else had gone to bed, but Michael was up and he couldn't sleep. So he woke me up and he said, "I've got an idea. Let's go see grass." Well, it was 3 in the morning.
The sun is not even beginning to come up, Wayne.
Grasse is a nearby town, famous throughout France for its perfume and flowers.
There's Tina.
And we were driving on our way to Grasse, and he stopped on the side of the road, got out, and I followed him.
ABS, wins again. Thank you.
And he said, "That place down there is where they make the perfumes."
This is where they grow all the flowers for all the perfume in the world.
Grass.
Here, right here. Right here. Lavender, like my house. The lavender I showed you, all right here.
And he started to tell me this story.
The story Michael began telling was of the fictional 18th century serial killer known as the French perfumer.
He is the greatest perfumer in all of the world. And then one day he's standing there and he goes, he smells the smell. It smells like peaches and it smells like girl, but it smells like something he has no idea of. He's catalogued every single scent, 1 million scents. And he follows the smell across the left bank onto the right bank in Paris. Comes to a window. It's a young virgin girl, about 14, 15, eating peaches. He looks at her. He has never smelled anything like her. And so he goes to the window and he grabs her and kills her while he's smelling her.
Oh.
And she dies.
I would say, "Oh, really?" Well, I say, "Yeah."
Then he goes about the task of making her into a perfume. He does it for 20 years. He makes 20 perfumes out of 20 virgins. Until he's the most notorious murderer in the world.
He was so animated, but that's the way he was when he told stories.
They catch him, and they're going to behead him. He says, "I have one last wish. Give me my bag." And he put all the perfumes into one. And he goes, like this. The perfume comes out across Paris. The whole city turns into an orgy. And they fuck him to death and kill him. They tear him apart.
No one indulged his senses and enjoyed being sensual more than Michael. And the tragedy was that at the age of 32, a random act of violence changed his life.
He and Helena were walking through Copenhagen. They'd just picked up some takeaway, and Michael was walking across the street, and he wasn't moving fast enough for a cab driver.
The guy got mad and came over and punched Michael, and he landed on the corner of a curb with the back of his head.
He was knocked out.
He hit the curb and his brain rotated inside his skull, and it severed the nerves, which, the olfactory nerves. So he lost his sense of smell.
He lost the sense of smell and taste, which was devastating to him.
You can't even taste water. You can't smell a flower.
It saddened him greatly.
A sea urchin. They're delicious.
How do you get it?
Very carefully. Like most good things.
Yeah, if you can't taste anything, it's almost what's the point?
Everybody needs an oyster up there, don't they?
The man who was all about taste and touching and smelling, and they had that taken away from it.
Food, fine wine and whatever was very important to him.
People can start on
You know, the smell of the scent of a woman.
He also said he can't experience his girlfriend the way he could before.
How did it change him?
Wow. I think it injured a part of his life force.
He did change. He became far more aggressive and more easily provoked to emotion.
After the accident, the highs were lower and the lows were deeper. But he was managing it. He'd have his friends describe what a wine was tasting like.
We'd get some wine, and he'd get me to describe what it was like. And I'd go, well, there's a bit of forest floor, touch of iodine, and there's maybe a tiny bit of pencil lead. You know, go, oh, yeah, I bet that's good, yeah.
I think around that period too, we were noticing that our following was starting to sort of lessen. You know, it's just a natural thing. So I think he may have, more than any of us, struggled a little bit with that sort of thought that, gee, we're not the biggest band in the world anymore, sort of thing.
As long as I feel like I got my ear on the street and I know what's going on and I'm not just, living in a vacuum or something, once I feel like that's happening, then I'm out of here. I don't want to take any space up. There's lots of great people coming up. They can take my slot. Yeah.
He liked the limelight. I mean, that's why he sort of initially chose to live in London. And, a lot of the time he thrived on it. But then it just, I guess, started to kind of backfire.
I think there was a certain element of Michael that felt that he would always get through it and come out on top in the end, and I think that there was just certain elements of his life that he couldn't get on top of, and that's what really bugged him.
In his diary, Michael wrote this: "I've still got questions, and they're the big ones too. I know I'm not alone." A kiss to celebrate New Year, but Michael and Helena's relationship was not to last. In October 1994, Michael was interviewed by Paula Yates, who asked him about Helena.
And do you think you're going to get married?
What?
Do you think that you'll get married?
No.
Why not?
We're happily unmarried.
Are you?
Mm.
Why don't you fancy getting married then?
Because everyone wants us to get married.
I don't.
I know, except for you.
Oh, it's a terrible, terrible idea.
Terrible idea.
She's got to know.
Soon after, they began an affair. At the time, Paula was married to Irish rock star Bob Geldof, with whom she'd had 3 daughters.
Now, Paula has been a fan of yours for a long time, hasn't she, Michael?
I think she has, actually, yes.
Even while she was married to someone else, was she a fan of yours?
Yeah, if you've ever seen The Tube, in my first interview on The Tube.
And what happened? Were you all flirting outrageously with each other?
Actually. It's inevitable.
Now, in all the polls that I was reading in Countdown magazine,
You know, when it came to sexiest man, you won.
Is there a category for that?
Yeah. Sexiest
I don't
man.
really think.
Now, what?
She was flirting outrageously.
Yes, well, she is a good flirt. But, boy, she likes me. I love her.
I call it love. When feelings are naked.
Oh, he adored her. Adored her to the end. He thought that she was the most interesting person that he'd ever met in his life.
Flirting was an art form for Paula.
Were you always very forward?
Am I forward?
Well, a bit.
And you're talking.
They'd always be laughing. He just thought that she was the ant's pants.
Paula intellectually stimulated Michael. She challenged him intellectually and just psychologically in a lot of ways. I think she really gave him a run for his money.
To be honest, I thought the rest of the world, including Australia, lost a little respect for Michael when he went with Kylie, because Kylie was a bit of a joke. But then when he went with Helena, it went back up again. But then with Paula, it was so in the media. Michael was shocked when he got a backlash on it. He couldn't believe it.
He was terrorised, absolutely terrorised by the media.
Imagine you're having dinner with somebody and the entire conversation has been taped.
He and Paula were in a restaurant somewhere in quite a full dining room, and at some point he realised that everybody else in there was a journalist.
They've paid off the hotel to not have music. I kept on saying, why is there no music? And they're taping it, and then as you get up, people start coming at you, and like ghouls.
When he began the relationship with Paula, he'd never hit a press that was hostile towards him before. They hounded him.
The paparazzi thing about him being involved with Paula Yates, who was at the time married to Bob Geldof, was so intense.
Opening up the front door in Redburn Street and having hundreds of photographers.
See you later, baby.
Literally prepared to injure themselves just to try and get a shot.
When you drive with him, he'd sit sideways. He'd always sit there as a passenger looking to the right. Why? Because any press had come along, take a photograph of Mike on the side.
Okay. All right, bye. Okay.
They made Michael and Paula's life hell. They really did.
Think they got the picture, but they don't really know.
With standing on the rooftop, I think he did feel under attack. Maybe he was a little bit paranoid, but he felt everybody was kind of going for it.
You know, the press always have to have a good guy and a bad guy. And Bob was never going to be the bad guy.
Where's Paula?
No.
Are you worried about today or quite confident?
Do you want to put that in the boot and pop in?
Paula is a woman, to those that do know her and not to those who read about her, has had to pay an enormous price for leaving St. Bob. For me, in London, that, as an Australian, I think that is considered bad form.
What had he done wrong? He said to me, what does it matter who I go out with?
Paula. You know, I've seen the photographers at a distance push Pixie, who's 6 years old, over to make her cry and take a photograph and then print a front page headline, Life with Paula and Michael for Pixie. You know, that's what you read.
The press intrusion troubled Michael. not least because of the effect it was having on Paula's daughters.
You can see in his diary, there's a reference there of why should Paula's children suffer by going to school because of the relationship that he was having.
This is what Michael wrote. The price we have always paid for freedom of the press from certain parts of the media is truth. There is much more grief to children having to defend their own mother at school because of this cartoon character assassination being trumpeted by the journos. How can they get it so wrong? That's what is totally shocking.
It's expensive to punch photographers, I found out. I'm on a 12-month bond for GBH, so there'll be no punching.
The paparazzi made their life so miserable that it started to affect their relationship a lot because Michael felt he had to get out of London. You know, he hated London, absolutely hated London.
Like Diana said just before she died, if I could, I'd leave this country. Any sane person would. Because there's nothing I do that works. Only the negatives are blown out of proportion and the positives are destroyed.
Heavenly, Hirani, and Tiger Lily.
She was a real gift from God.
I mean, it's fantastic. I'm on cloud nine, you know, what can I say? It's something that becomes about more than you, doesn't it?
Tiger was the centre of his universe.
It was Michael's future.
Tiger! Tiger!
Do you feel that the time's approaching for you and you'd like to be a dad?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Soonish. Yeah, I'd like that very much.
On the 22nd of July 1996, Michael became a father.
He was so, just so happy to have a baby girl and so happy to be. But I just think that, I don't know that he knew how to do it all. He'd been a rock star all his life, you know. I think he was trying to find some level of balance.
She's extremely happy, Michael's extremely happy, the baby's really well. They're obviously both, you know, exhilarated at the birth of their new child.
And can you tell us why she chose to have the baby at home?
I think she wanted a more natural, relaxing setting.
Have they chosen a name for the baby yet?
Yes, the baby's name is Heavenly Hirani Tiger Lily Hutchence.
And how is Michael feeling at this present moment?
Exhilarated, as any new dad is. It's his first child and he's over the moon.
These photos are from Colin Diamond's private collection. Michael gave them to him.
There's some wonderful shots in here. This is memory lane for me.
These are real treasures.
Yeah, they are. They are. They've been in my vault, you know. These are private shots. This is what I kept so Tiger would know, you know, in reality, you're like one look's worth 1,000 words. So when she sees these photos, she'll understand how much she was loved.
Honestly, it's my first baby and she's just perfect. I mean, I can't believe it.
He was so dinking proud of her. Any time, night or day, bring the friends in and say, look at my Tiger. And Paula's so proud how what she's given to the man, you know? Look at that proud look in her eye. Look what I've done for you, Mike.
The first question he got asked is, now you've got a baby, you know, is it going to change your life? And he even said, you know, I don't believe in this doom and gloom thing of having a kid. He goes, the hours are the same.
He really wanted to be a parent. He saw himself as not as a dead end, but as you know, part of a chain, a family chain. So he was very, very, very proud and happy and fulfilled to become a father.
What's it like being a new dad, Michael?
What's it like being a dad for the best
It's beautiful. I mean, it's fantastic. I'm on cloud nine, you know. What can I say?
First time he showed me, he arrived in LA, he had photographs for me of little Tiger. He said, you know, I can't smell her. That just broke my heart.
He said to me one day, he said, you know, Simon, I'll never be able to smell my baby, which is a very sad thing.
I'm pretty good at it, surprisingly.
What, being a dad?
Being a dad, yeah, I love it.
Everyone who knew Michael says he adored Tiger Lily. In his diary, he wrote this poem for her, ending with the lines, "Tiger, tiger, sleep for a while, and when you wake up, just give us a smile."
You can see how much he loved her.
I went past his bedroom one night. He had her cradled on his chest, sort of like as a lady would, you know, and you know, she was suckling into his shoulder, and he was just cuddling. And I looked sideways at him, and I had a big grin for him, because he just looked aside and he couldn't move, because Tiger would have woke her, and he was just like, "How long do I have to do this for?" I said, "You're in for the long haul, brother." He loved being a father to Paula's kids and a father to his own. Just look at this one here with little Peaches. God rest her soul. Look at her, like a little mouse. Look at how much the girls loved her, and they continued to get, you know, with her as the sisters. They got to spend some time with her that their mum and Paula and Mike didn't. She's the light of his life. At least he had some time with her, eh? Even though it was short and brief, it was very intense and full of happiness. It changed him for the better. He had different goals and pure contentment. And we didn't realise it was going to be robbed away from him so quickly. Life is precious, isn't it?
Some people have it. Whatever it is, they have it. And Michael had it.
Segregate, mediate, alleviate, try not to hate. Love your mate, don't suffocate on your own hate. Designate your lover's fate. One will say that's human fate. The number 8, a white back slate.
The shoot that I did in 1993, that shoot was, to this day, if you ask me what my top 5 favorite shoots are, that's in the top 5. He knew who he was, and he was comfortable in it. You can see that in the photos. You can see when I'm asking him to do something, whether it's to take your shirt off. Like, George Michael would never do a picture of him taking his shirt off, but Michael would just do that. It would be like no big deal to him, and he was just confident. I've been shooting music for 40 years. I think it's the most iconic photo session of Michael Hutchence. And every time I was around him or I saw him, he always had a beautiful girl with him. The whole story, and which is the truth about the mask thing I did with him with the fetish mask, was I knew through friends that he was a bit kinky about sex, and I know he liked sex. So we did the regular setups, and at the end I said, "Hey, Michael, what do you think about wearing one of these for one of the shots?" And he looked at me and he just smiled and laughed, and he said, yeah, love to. And he put them on, and I shot this, he was smoking his cigarette, and I just shot him wearing these masks. They're my favorite pictures of Michael because of that moment. But a lot of people tell me all the time, like, no, you can't see him too much. You can't see enough of him. And I'm like, yeah, but you can see his eyes, and that's all that matters to me.
Like I said, he had it. So when you have it, you don't have to work it. Do you know what I mean? You've got it.
In the mid-90s, the pressures piling up on Michael coincided with the dip in popularity of INXS. At the 1996 Brit Awards, he was humiliated by people he thought were his friends.
Michael was giving an award to Oasis.
And the winner is the best video, Oasis Wonderwall.
Got nothing to say except for I'm extremely rich and you lot aren't. And I'm not even in it. Has-beens shouldn't present fucking awards to gonna-bees.
Has-beens fucking shouldn't be giving gonna-bees awards, right? And the next day, we got to the studio and I saw Michael and said, hey, buddy. I go, hey, how's it going? And he just, his head just dropped. It was like the air. And I was like, come on, man, you can't give a shit about that, you know? But it did. It hurt him. It hurt.
I don't care what you say. Every step I take, I feel like a different person with every breath I make.
Mike, I think, was also frustrated by what he felt was the slow demise of the band. The band wasn't selling records the way they had done. He was very concerned. I had a lot of conversations on the phone with Mike where the crowds were, 2,000 people, and he'd refer to that as ritual humiliation.
We all have our wilderness years, whether it's drugs, alcohol, lack of fame, whatever.
His worst nightmare was to become a caricature of himself. And because of all the stuff that was happening in the press, he was becoming more famous for being famous.
Thanks, Michael.
And people were losing sight of why he was famous in the first place. And that's what the music he was working on outside of INXS was really what I think he was striving for.
Zip, click, tear away. Ha! You got too much friction.
He wanted to move on from INXS.
And he was trying to figure out who the fuck he was.
He was discovering his own sound. He was growing as an artist.
You got nothing to prove.
But he couldn't get through to the band.
That's when we lost him.
INXS has just about done everything. You've taken up all the challenges. What's left to keep you in the band?
Exactly. See ya.
In 1997, Michael made several trips to Los Angeles to write and record with music producer Danny Saber. He never wanted to be disloyal to INXS, but Michael did want to be true to himself and create music he considered his own.
Won't look back again.
He wasn't leaving the band. He wasn't upset with his mates. He loved making music with them, and their music had its own sound. But he was discovering his own sound. He was growing as an artist.
And he was trying to figure out who the fuck he was. Even though, to me, or to anybody looking at him, it's like, man, you're fucking Michael Hutchence, dude, You got nothing to prove. But, if one's own self-confidence gets shaken, it's hard to get it back.
My opinion, he wanted to move on from INXS. And you know, and he, you know, we spent a lot of time talking about that kind of stuff.
He needed to change the music. He so desperately wanted new music. But he said to me, you know, and he said more than once, you know, the band are just happy to sit on their farms in Australia. They don't want to hear new stuff. They don't want to move on from the 80s. And it was so troubling to him because he knew he would be irrelevant if he continued on that track. But he couldn't get through to the band.
The band was like family for him, so I think trying to break out on his own was always going to be challenging. It's almost like trying to break up with a girlfriend that doesn't want to let you go.
We can do it like this. Let's do it in sections, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Want to start there? Yeah, let's start with this bit.
Where he was at in his life, perhaps the only place for him to be completely free was in the music.
Yeah.
In that music and doing that record with Danny, his own voice.
All these days are gone, so gone. Oh, you saved my life again. See, you saved my life again.
The voice of grunge music takes his own life. Seattle's Kurt Cobain is dead of an apparent suicide.
I remember getting a call from Michael. Kurt Cobain had just passed away. And Michael, he began to weep. He said, he's the poet laureate of our time. How could we lose someone like that, like this? He loved Cobain's music. It hit him hard because this is what he wanted to get to.
I remember lying on a beach with him, and he was talking about Kurt Cobain. And he turned to me and he said, you know, if Kurt just had a chance to just be up late at night and be hanging out with his mates like we're hanging out and just, you know, swimming in the sea and making mischief, he'd still be here. And I said, you think, Michael? He said, yeah. He says, that thing, that weight, you lose all your sense of humor, you know? And Kurt was really funny, I think. And I said, well, I don't know. I don't know that about Kurt, but I know it about you. You're a funny fucker. And he laughed his head off. And so it's when he ran out of that, whatever you might call it, frothy, fun-loving side of his life, when he lost that joy, I think that's when we lost him.
I think Tiger Lily was everything to Michael.
He was heading home. That's where the conflict came.
Now you have something that's so much more important than anything else in front of you.
Wow. That was a bit exciting, wasn't it?
Just throw it on out, Michael.
Wow, this is that. That's amazing. Ouch.
Who is it?
Who is it? Who's that ugly bastard? That's great. That's wonderful.
Michael had it all. He was a great-looking guy. He had great physicality. Really one of the great performers, I think, ever in rock.
After the birth of Tiger Lily, Michael's priorities changed.
He'd been a Peter Pan all of his life, and now that he's had a child, and it's like, I just want to put the brakes on so I can settle a little.
In his diary, Michael wrote, "Conflict equals human weakness. Strength equals human greatness." But the conflict in his life was intensifying. In May 1996, Paula and Bob divorced. It appeared amicable. But 4 months later, while Paula was overseas, police raided the home she now shared with Michael. Paula flew straight back to England.
Just come back to fight for custody of my children. I've had to leave Tiger behind in Australia with her dad and her grandparents, which obviously I didn't want to do, but she wasn't feeling very well.
Paula suspected Bob had had a hand in what had happened.
As for the so-called investigative report in the Mirror, the police haven't even asked to speak to me yet, so I can't comment on that. I think, suffice to say, there's an entirely different way of looking at this whole series of events. I think we've had live aid and now we're getting lie aid.
As the bitter custody battle between Paula and Bob played out, Michael turned to Colin Diamond for advice.
My message to him was, we'll sort it out, mate. It'll be okay. Don't panic. Don't panic.
The conflict and the constant press intrusion affected Michael greatly. Later that year, while on a trip away, Michael wrote this in his diary.
CD, Col Diamond, just want to get home to Paula and carry the baby. Sorry, I have no comment.
What's the no comment referred to?
No comment regards to the press, because I would have told him don't make any comments. The matter's before the court. You know, he would have rung me to say, what do I say when I go through customs? And I'd say, just, you want to get home to Paula? That's your words. My words is no comment. So he said, sorry, I have no comment.
You know, the thing with Paula and Bob and all that was pulling at him just dramatically. You know, it was a lot of stress. It was really wearing him down because, you know, he had just had a child.
I think Tiger Lily was everything to Michael. He talked incessantly about her. It was almost like everything else that you think is important when you're young fades away. Because now you have something that's so much more important than anything else in front of you.
This is video that Michael shot. This is the first time it's been shown.
What's that? Hey, sweetie. What you doing? What you doing? Huh? What's that? What you got there? Huh? Oh, what's that? It's a little book you got there, is it? Hello, darling.
It was such a conundrum. It was a terrible problem. His child was living in a city that he was so uncomfortable in.
You want to sit up? Here, baby. Point. Oh, you're busy. Here's Mummy. Busy. No, hello, darling. Here's our beautiful bedroom. With the sausages dancing on the ceiling. I mean, bacon dancing. Aussie flag. Tiger! Tiger!
He said, I'd like to bring her up in Australia. He said, you know, Australia's so down to earth. She could, you know, a great Aussie kid. That's what I want. And I said, that would be wonderful. And I didn't want to bring up again, that's another city.
His plan was to spend about 6 months a year here and about 6 months in London. That was the plan we were working towards.
Mike was an Australian. He was heading home.
But that was easier said than done.
I asked him, what are you going to do? Tiger is with Paula. Paula has her 3 girls.
And of course, that's where the conflict came, because Bob was obviously wanting to have reasonable 50% access, and there was no way Paula would have gone to Australia without the girls. And that was something that needed to be negotiated out.
He said, well, maybe we can work something out, because I need my baby close to me.
Are you sitting up now? You are, aren't you? And your girl can sit up. Yeah. La 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 la. That was a bit exciting, wasn't it? Come here. Come on, up you get. Up you get. Give me your hand. Oh, yes. There we go. Look at that. What a grown-up guy.
Amazing, man.
He was in his prime.
This place was packed.
The superstar of that night was the great Michael Hutchence.
I was standing next to the king. That was his last gig.
It was a darker Michael.
He had a plan to split up with Paula.
It's a war.
You know, the call with Bob.
I just don't talk about those things.
Angry,
Saint Bob.
disappointed, lonely.
I don't think he was suicidal.
Sick of the dogs outside my window.
The international music industry is in shock with the death of rock star Michael Hutchence.
I think this is the biggest unanswered question in rock and roll, to be honest.
It's shocking and unbelievable.
Michael is dead.
We'll never see him again.
It wasn't his time to go.
Under curious circumstances.
Nobody asked the real story.
Only Michael knows.
That is heavy.
Then there's the music.
It's going to be big.
What you have is something that nobody else has.
I got goosebumps.
He really wanted his music to be heard.
It's really good.
Beautiful ending.
He just touched the souls of so many people.
He's gonna write the final chapter.
Michael was the last rock star.
Think about